Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another live. Today I have a very interesting topic I want to discuss with you guys, or a video in particular that I want to share, a clip that I came across of Mr. Richard Dawkins. He was in a discussion with Justin Brierley. It's not new, I think it was a couple of years ago. But nevertheless, this particular clip, it's very telling of the way atheism puts you in a position where you can't account for morality. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the clip, and to be honest, the clip speaks for itself. This is going to be very short. I'm just going to play the clip, let you guys hear it, and then just briefly discuss the issues here in regards to morality and atheism, something we've expounded upon several times before. We've gone into a lot of detail, but when it comes from the horse's mouth, when it comes from one of the leaders of new atheism, it's shocking. It's shocking, and it should be a point of reflection for atheists to really reconsider the atheism. Realizing and recognizing that they're moral beings. At least that's one aspect of human nature which still exists to some degree in the world that we live in today. That we have a recognition of right and wrong. We have a recognition of what's bad and what's evil and what's good to some degree, still to some extent. That when people like Dawkins come out on atheism and from his perspective of evolution and make such statements as you're going to hear today, statements that he makes, for atheists to really reconsider whether it's still worth being an atheist or whether they should look elsewhere. That's something I want to leave you guys with today, especially the atheists. Assalamu alaikum to everyone that's joining, and welcome to this live. To be honest, you guys are going to be shocked if you haven't seen this clip already. I was extremely shocked. I came across this first. I don't remember the brother's name. He tweeted it. A smaller clip of the clip that I'm going to play you, where Dawkins responds to Justin in regards to morality and what he makes of it, and rape in particular, because that's what he's asked about. So yeah, without further ado, let me play this clip for you guys, and then we will briefly discuss it, inshallah. Okay.
Christians and apologists, etc., would say, ultimately, if there is no morality, as it were, given by God, then there is no compulsion on anyone to stop them going around doing whatever they like, because there's no ultimate moral.
Do you realise what abject contempt you're holding your fellow humans in when you say that? You're actually implying that the only reason we don't go around raping and pillaging and stealing is that we're frightened of God. I mean, what kind of a contemptible reason for being good is that?
So just to point out, guys, one thing you see Dawkins doing here is very quickly straw manning Justin's position. That he's sort of painting this caricature where it's like, oh, you're saying that people will just go do X, Y, and Z if you didn't believe in God. No, he's trying to make more of a refined and nuanced point, which he clarifies himself really well, just to bring Dawkins back online to the discussion. So this is what he says next.
That's not what I'm suggesting. I'm suggesting that whether you believe in God or don't believe in God, everyone feels that there is some kind of objective moral facts around that raping and killing and stealing is wrong. Now, that is true regardless of whether evolution has given us those, if you like, criteria to live by. It's true regardless of whether we have evolved in the way we evolved. It's as true as 1 + 1 = 2.
Oh, no, it's not. It's not as true as 1 + 1.
So just quickly, a few quick point on this. What Justin is trying to establish and highlight here, that, he's asking Dawkins a question, do you acknowledge that there is good and bad, right and wrong, in a true sense, that these things are true? So for example, rape is bad and it's objectively bad, and would you acknowledge this? Even if people were to turn around and say, tomorrow there was a consensus that it wasn't, for example, is there some truth to this, or is it just something that's arbitrary? And here Dawkins, you gotta rate him, you gotta give him that, you gotta give him the respect that he's trying to be as consistent as he can, from a atheist and evolutionary perspective, right? But he's landing himself in a huge hole and exposing a huge hole of atheism. In one particular regard, when it comes to morality, that atheism cannot account for objective moral values and duties. So let's carry on listening to him.
1 = 2. What we're saying, and I think we're probably agreeing, is that there are certain universal moral principles which everybody has, regardless of their religion and whether they have a religion at all. Things like, and actually, there's even been research on this, giving people rather standard moral questions, moral dilemmas, hypothetical ones, and asking which they think is the more moral course. And there's a wide measure of agreement among.
He's really flustered here, right? Psychologically, if you pick up on it, he's really flustered. He's trying to buy some time. He's trying to gather his thoughts, and therefore he's starting to cite some research on certain aspects of morality and how people react, etc., which isn't really addressing that fundamental issue that's being raised here.
Among all humans in different tribes and everything. I see no problem with deriving that from our evolutionary origins. We all have noses, we all have eyes, we all have knees, and these have all evolved. We all have sexual desires because they've evolved. Why shouldn't we have this sense of what's moral? Things like the golden rule, things like do as you would be done by.
But if we had evolved into a society where rape was considered fine, would that mean that rape is fine?
I don't want to answer that question.
He doesn't want to answer that question. Guys, he doesn't want to answer that question. And that's very telling. And it's going to get worse. Trust me, it's going to get worse. And there's a reason he doesn't want to answer that question. And I'll leave that for you guys to figure out what that reason is, which is quite apparent.
It's enough for me to say that we live in a society where it's not considered fine. We live in a society where selfishness, where failure to pay your debts, failure to reciprocate favors is regarded askance. That is the society in which we live. I'm very glad. That's a value judgment. I'm very glad that I live in such a society.
But when you make a value judgment, don't you immediately step yourself outside of this evolutionary process and say there is the reason this is good?
So you see Dawkins dabbling with, at times he passes value judgments, at times he says, well, it's arbitrary, so he wants to have his cake and eat it too. On one end, he wants to say, yes, the world we live in and its views in regards to rape, etc., are correct, and it's correct in a true sense, objectively somehow. But again, on atheism and evolution, he can't account for that, and he's tossing between these two contradictory outlooks, it's funny to see, but it's very telling as well as to how atheism lands you in a position where you can't account for those most fundamental human truths, guys, the most fundamental human truths.
Is good is because it's good, and you don't have any way to stand on that statement.
But my value judgment itself could come from my evolutionary past, and I suppose.
So therefore, it's just as random in a sense as any product of evolution.
Well, you could say that, but it doesn't. In any case, nothing about it makes it more probable that there is anything supernatural.
Okay, but ultimately, your belief that rape is wrong is as arbitrary as the fact that we've evolved 5 fingers rather than 6. I mean,
you could say that. Yeah.
You can say that. So, I mean, it's case closed, right? I don't think I'm ever going to make another video on morality on atheism after this, right? I don't know how I didn't come across this clip before. I don't know why this clip isn't been made a bit more popular so atheists can see what one of the leaders is saying in regards to morality. Now, when it comes to rape, it's as arbitrary as having 5 fingers or 6 fingers, and he acknowledges this. He says, you can say that, and he has nothing else to say after this, because after this, he moves on to another question. That's it. There's atheism for you guys. There is atheism for you guys. The one thing, brothers, sisters, and friends, that we as human beings, even today in the 21st century, hold on to from a natural, innate, intrinsic perspective is moral duties and values. Yeah, we recognize them. We recognize right and wrong, and we recognize the objective reality. Even if we don't say it or can't account for it, we acknowledge it, and we know that certain things are wrong objectively and certain things are right. However, here you have an atheist, one of the founding fathers of new atheism, one of the horsemen, the leaders, turning around and in not too many words acknowledging that on atheism and his evolutionary outlook, it's all arbitrary. There is no actual right or wrong, good or bad. It's all arbitrary. Rape is as arbitrary as you having 5 fingers or 6 fingers, and you can say that. These are his words. These are the words of Richard Dawkins. I mean, if I think there's just no more scope for any more discussion with atheists on morality after this point, because he's acknowledged the truth, and this is exactly what we have been saying and what we've been pushing and what we've been highlighting, is that in the absence of God, especially on atheism, a naturalistic type of atheism, you can't account for those most fundamental truths that you acknowledge as human beings, the very things that make you human. Yeah, I don't know what to say, guys. I'm shocked. But one thing I do want to say, and I think I'll wrap up on this and I'll conclude on this, and it's, as you see, it's only been 10 minutes. I don't think we need to go any further. If anything, I will detract from what we've just heard if I was to say any more. But one thing I want the atheists that may watch this to take away from this is, look, fine, you may not want to follow organized religion. You may not want to look into Islam. You may want to hold on to your presuppositions and your views in regards to Islam, which may be false, but you never know because you don't want to look into these things further. But at the very least, guys, reconsider the atheism you're holding on to, and look elsewhere. Start looking elsewhere. Try look for other alternatives. Go on that journey to find what at least a worldview that at least acknowledges what makes you human, acknowledges the innate human truths right? Such as that there is wrong, that there is right. Whereas atheism strips you from all of this and leaves you naked from this perspective. Something Dawkins has acknowledged himself. Anyway, I think that's it. I think that was one of the biggest nails in the coffin when it comes to morality and atheism that we're ever going to hear. Right out of the horse's mouth. Wow, amazing, shocking. Let me see if there's any questions or comments that we can address quickly, inshallah, as we have so much time. Okay, let's see. Walaikum salam. Walaikum salam to everyone that said salam. Abu Bakr Ali says he's never seen more of a continuously self-contradicting person like Dawkins. To be honest, bro, like I said, you have to respect him from the perspective he tries to be consistent with his atheism, although he slips around and tries to sort of have his cake and eat it too, which becomes apparent because he's a brilliant writer, he's a professor, no doubt, he's an expert in his field. However, when it comes to, being super sharp in articulating and defending atheism and the way you need to be slippery and to do that, he can't do that too well. And you will see atheists, who are good at doing that, but he's definitely not one of them. And it's a good thing because it highlights, at least to people, the truth of atheism and how it just removes you from any, removes you from being able to account for morality. And people need to know this. People need to be aware of this. Subur Ahmed uses example of fingers. I don't know. Maybe he did. Maybe he's heard this clip before. Yeah, the atheist may just say that Dawkins was misquoted. Who said that? Where's it gone? Okay, I've lost the comment. But absolutely, some atheists will turn around. He was misquoted. But the interesting thing about this clip, guys, is there's no scope for misquoting him. I mean, it's as clear as day. He's saying things himself. It's coming out of his own mouth. There's only so many ways you can interpret that. So I don't know how they'll go about doing this. But those that want to do this, they will nevertheless attempt to do that. Okay, guys, so I'm going to keep it short so other people can watch this video too and benefit from it, because if it's longer and less people watch this. But anyway, just to summarize, on atheism and naturalism, as has been articulated by our Professor Dawkins here, not our Professor Dawkins here, on atheism and naturalism, you cannot account for objective moral values or duties in any way, shape, or form. Atheism, in particular, and a naturalistic conception of atheism, leaves you naked. It strips you from being able to account for those very fundamental truths that we recognize as human beings and those things that make us human. That being said, the atheists that are watching this, please, please, please listen to this clip properly and reconsider your position. And the Muslims that are watching this, please share this so other people can become aware of, what atheism leads you to. That being said, I thank you guys for watching. Till next time, take care.